name is Stephen Smith. I'm with Christian Leadership Partners. And for the last 16 days, we've been doing a coaching session. These coaching sessions are only about 10 minutes long, and you're more than welcome to join us along this journey. What we've been doing is we've been working on our goals. Now, if this is the first time that you've seen one of these videos, I really do encourage you to go back to the very beginning and start on the first one. If you need to, you can IM me or you can write down in the comments and I will send you a link to the first video and you can start out from the very beginning. I think that it will really make a huge difference for you as we go along. You'll also find that we're going along in the book of Proverbs, and today is the 16th day, so obviously we'll be on Proverbs chapter 16. And I think that you'll find a lot of really great opportunities to learn from the wisdom of Solomon today. And one of the things that we've been doing is we've been working very hard on our goals. And in fact, yesterday we took a look at 3 different questions that we could ask ourselves to help determine what our goals really should be, and to really align ourselves with where our thoughts are, where our hearts are, where our minds are, so that we can really align our purposes with what God has in store for us. And what we want to do today is we want to begin the strategic plan for that process. And you'll find that Proverbs actually encourages us along that path as well. So we're going to take a close look at what strategic planning is really all about, and we're going to start identifying where we're at and how we need to get where we're going to go. And that's really what strategic planning is all about. Now, Proverbs actually tells us that we can actually take a look at what God has in store for us as we go through it. And in fact, the value of Proverbs tells us that if we commit our actions to the Lord, our plans will succeed. And that's what we really want to do. We really want to make sure that our plans will succeed in everything that we do. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into Proverbs chapter 16, see what it has to minister to us, and then what we'll do is we'll actually begin to grow in the processes, and then we'll take what we learned from Proverbs 16 and actually apply it to our strategic plan. So if you're ready, let's take a look at what Proverbs 16 actually provides for us. Proverbs chapter 16 is going to help us with the prioritization and the categorization of our plans. It can also help us to see how we can avoid evil. It also gives us the opportunity to understand the justice of God and of leaders. We'll also see the value of humility, wisdom, and a virtuous life. And then we can also see how to make wise decisions. The beauty about Proverbs chapter 16 tells us that if we look at it closely, it can actually help us to see the contrast comparison. Solomon does a lot of this throughout the Proverbs from 1 through 31. And you'll see that more Proverbs have the tendency to give us this contrast comparison. And that's what we're going to do today. So let's go ahead and get started with Proverbs chapter 16. We can make our own plans, but the Lord gives the right answer. People may be pure in their own eyes, but the Lord examines their motives. Commit your actions to the Lord, and your plans will succeed. The Lord has made everything for his own purposes, even the wicked for a day of disaster. The Lord detests the proud, they will surely be punished. Unfailing love and faithfulness make atonement for sin. By fearing the Lord, people avoid evil. When people's lives please the Lord, even their enemies are at peace with them. Better to have little with godliness than to be rich and dishonest. We can make our own plans, but the Lord determines our steps. The king speaks with divine wisdom. He must never judge unfairly. The Lord demands accurate scales and balances. He sets the standard for fairness. A king detests wrongdoing, for his rule is built on justice. How much better to get wisdom than gold, and good judgment than silver. The path of the virtuous lead away from evil. Whoever follows that path is safe. Pride goes before destruction, and humility before a fall. Better to live humbly with the poor than to share plunder with the proud. Those who listen to instruction will prosper. Those who trust the Lord will be joyful. The wise are known for their understanding, and pleasant words are persuasive. Discretion is a life-giving fountain to those who possess it, but discipline is wasted on fools. From a wise mind comes wise speech. The words of the wise are persuasive. Kind words are like honey, sweet to the soul and healthy for the body. There is a path before each person that seems right, but it ends in death. It is good for workers to have an appetite. An empty stomach drives them on. Scoundrels create trouble. Their words are a destructive blaze. Gray hair is a crown of glory. It is gained by living a godly life. Better to be patient than powerful. Better to have self-control than conquer a city. We may throw the dice, but the Lord determines how they fall. So the value of Proverbs actually shows us several different things that we can actually grab a hold of. What I'd like to focus on today are the 4 verses that actually help us to see that God can actually help us develop the plans that we need to be able to be successful. Remember, these plans are going to be based off of what God has in store for us. So if I've got spiritual goals of what I want to achieve, and if I know that my other goals, whether they're physical or whether they're financial, then I can also make sure that those goals are in alignment with what God has in store for me. I can do that through Proverbs. Now, what we want to do is we want to see what Proverbs chapter 16 has to say about planning, because that's where our focus will be today. Proverbs 16:1 tells us, "For we can make our own plans, but the Lord gives the right answer." Proverbs 16:3 tells us, "Commit your actions to the Lord and your plans will succeed." Proverbs 16:9 tells us, "We can make our own plans, but the Lord determines our steps." And Proverbs 16:33 tells us, "We may throw the dice, but the Lord determines how they fall." So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we can actually begin our goal process. We want to begin our strategic process towards achieving our goals, a strategic plan that will allow us to be able to do that. Our strategy is designed to help move us forward. It's forward thinking. It's forward in the processes that we take. And that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that we're solution focused, but we also want to make sure that we're working towards an end goal. And so what we want to do is we want to take a piece of paper and we want to draw a series of steps similar to the picture that you see on your screen. At the bottom of the steps, we want to identify where we're at. It could be, you know what, I'm almost there. I've got my bachelor's degree. I'm working on my master's. I've achieved success at my job. I'm working towards my next promotion. I'm working towards retirement. But we want to identify where it is that we're at in each one of our goals. So we'll want to identify probably our primary goal to be able to get through. We want to make sure that our goal isn't something like, I just want to make it to the end of the day. But we'll start out in the step-by-step process, and our first step is to identify where we're at, and we put that at the bottom step. Our next step is to go up to the top step, and what we want to do is we want to write our goal down. We can write our one-word goal like what we had worked on a couple of days ago, or we can write down our entire process of what we want to accomplish. But we want to be very, very clear. We want to use a SMART goal, and we want to identify clearly what it is that we want to accomplish. And that's at the top of the steps. So I've got a series of steps at the bottom where I'm at and at the top where I want to be. And what we're going to do, I bet you've already guessed it, but our third step is going to be to identify the steps that go in between each one of these. So if you can only think of one thing, what I'd encourage you to do is at that middle step is write that one thing, because there's obviously things that you need to do to be able to get from the bottom of where you're at to where that midterm goal is. And if you can identify those processes and those things in your life, then what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to start putting all these things down. Now, tomorrow we're going to take a look at the resources and the abilities that we have to achieve these goals and the skills that we need to attract those things. And we're going to add those to this picture. So make sure that you do this step, because you're going to have to identify those steps that you'll have to take. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the attributes and skills that we're going to need to be able to fulfill those things. And we'll do that again tomorrow. So I really do encourage you to join us, because this is going to be a great opportunity for you to be able to take your goals and strategically plan for their successful accomplishment. Now, don't forget, if you subscribe over here, you can get all of our notifications. If you comment on Facebook, if you like this, if you forward this to your friends or your family members or your subordinates, that's great. If you tag somebody, what'll happen is that these videos will actually pop up to the top of your feed. So I really do encourage you to interact with us if you're on Facebook, on Twitter, or if you're on LinkedIn. All of these things will bring these videos back to you. But make sure that you don't miss a single one. And I really look forward to you doing all of these things and accomplishing your greatest good. For then you can go out and be a miracle going someplace to happen.